So people have been telling you look...
What, less shiny?
You look less shiny because of the anti-glare. What?
Yeah.
They've done something...
With the cameras.
And the lighting.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
have we noticed? No,
we haven't noticed, but apparently we're much significantly less shiny.
But we don't look at ourselves anyway.
No, we don't.
So I said last week that we were going to take in some questions. We're going to do a podcast of questions, and we've loads in, so keep them coming at crimeworldpod@gmail.com.
That's the one.
Send them into that, right? And yeah, we might try and do one later this week, but yeah, sorry, I've totally lost my train of thought. That's really bad. What was I going to say?
Well, you were going to...
You told me what to say and I forgot.
No, we were going to say...
I was going to say that.
We've just been told by that we chit-chat too much at the start.
Yes. That's exactly what I wanted to say. I should have done that the other way around and said, we've just been told that we chit-chat too much at the start and it's boring.
Yeah. Well, it may well be. It's all I could possibly say to that. I mean,
it pisses people off when we start whittering on.
Well, it certainly pisses some people off.
Yeah.
But yeah, they may well have a good case.
They may have a point. So, but they won't silence us completely.
No.
And then I meant to say after that we were going to do these Q&A, and you could send in a question like, why do you bang on so much?
Or can you even suggestions about things to chit chat less about?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We do sometimes get in. Poor Al Niall that is workplace bullying. People seriously.
When your mother sending messages into me now,
yes,
a bit too far.
My mother was not happy with the glasses comment. All right.
Yeah, she just knew it was true, or else she was only listening in audio and she couldn't see them.
She was. No.
Did you lose them?
I have no. Well, I have them upstairs.
I don't believe you.
I don't know. I haven't lost them yet. No.
Now we're going to Cork. And a story I know little about, to be honest with you. So I hope you're going to be good on this. But the one thing that jumped out at me. God, I can't speak today. I actually can't speak today. Maybe I should just go and leave you here on your own.
Well, I'll tell you what. No, come back, Nicola. I'll help you through this one because I think Gavin Sheehan will qualify as, we've spoken repeatedly about these kind of chaotic figures that move between sort of prison, getting out briefly, going back to prison, are involved in the drugs world, but never seem to make any money.
Lots of feuding, lots
of violence, lots of prison time. We're speaking about this guy, Gavin Sheehan, because there was at least an attack on his home. It came just 2 weeks after he'd been let out of Castlereagh prison. Straight after he got out of Castlereagh prison, there was a videotape went around on WhatsApp of him headbutting a guy in a shop. And there's been an attack on his home. So one of the very unusual things about the whole case is when you go back and read about him, I can't think of another case where we've had somebody stand up in court and say, I'm a Garda informer.
The way I read it, the lawyers had said that obviously on his instruction.
Yeah, because even the lawyers seemed
why was he saying that in court at all?
Well, because he was at the centre of this really, it was a really, really serious case. It goes back to 2016. There seems to have been this long-running dispute involving Gavin Sheehan and, another group of men, basically. The night in question, he bumped into one of these men in a chipper. There's been words exchanges. Then there was some windows put in Gavin Sheehan's house. And later on that night, Gavin Sheehan had travelled to the guy's girlfriend's house and fired a shot in her window. She'd been hit in the neck, absolutely 100% blessed to survive. The bullet lodged in her neck, whether it's one of these low caliber weapons, which can often happen in these cases if they're on the streets and not looked after professionally. But it hit the muscle and got lodged in there. She described in court just hearing this bang and all of a sudden
realising she'd been shot. And
falling to the ground,
right.
And blood pumping out of her neck.
God.
So it was a wild sort of case because when it came to court, Gavin Sheehan pled not guilty. However, he was undone by his own CCTV effectively, where you could see him holding a gun in his hand.
A chaotic character. Isn't going to be...
No.
None of this is very planned. He's just reacting and impulsive.
Exactly. But again, like some of these guys, the judge effectively said stuff along the lines that, that there was no way you could get away with it. Like, you're caught here on your own CCTV, yet you persisted in pleading not guilty. That you persisted in, he had disputes with his own lawyers at one stage, seems to have gotten rid of them. While he was awaiting trial, he had sent a Christmas card to his victim. He'd sort of done all of these kind of things to intimidate him, to intimidate his victim. And then in the middle of all of that, he seems to have brought up this fact that he was a Garda informer. Now, you don't like...
And a Garda informer at the time he did this, 8 years ago, or since?
Well, it says the lawyer, and I mean, this is only he made it clear, the barrister representing Gavin Sheehan, he said, I have certain instructions. And then he says he was acting as a Garda informer for 2 years up until 2015. And he describes how he helped Gardaí with drug seizures, gave him information about gun crime and about criminality in general, is how it's described. So he seems to have thrown this in the mix. You know this now. This is a constant thing that you get with sort of criminals, that there's these shady deals to be done with the state, or if they reveal this. In the court report, which we weren't there at the time, obviously, but it says he refers to a certain guard by name, though it wasn't covered in the court report. So obviously he felt this is in some way going to mitigate his sentence, or...
It's an impulsive thing to do.
It's an impulsive thing
in a courtroom,
to do.
And where it's going to be reported. And I mean, obviously, the dogs in the street know that you don't do that within that world, that, you can be branded a rat or a tout, and the consequences can be very serious for you.
It's a bizarre thing to do. I mean, there's many people informing to the Gardaí who would, do anything but reveal it.
Yeah,
I mean, most of them.
Many people have been accused of being rats, and they would absolutely go to their grave insisting they weren't.
Yeah.
They certainly wouldn't instruct their legal team to come out with that in a court of law.
So, I mean, it didn't save him anyway. I mean, he got 11 years for the offence. Like, clearly he wasn't... It was a shot fired from a distance and all of that, but summing it up, the judge said it was against the judge sort of basically took apart his character. He said he was lording it about. He was Sheehan was acting like a peacock with his own weapon, and it was against the clear photographic evidence that he pleaded not guilty. He showed not one shred of remorse, and even tried to blackguard the victim by sending her a Christmas card. So sometimes, like with these guys, Gavin Sheehan or whatever, people of that mindset, they have this idea that they can sort of bully their way through the court system, and it really doesn't work, and it didn't work in this case. So he went away into prison, and within 2 weeks of him coming out, he's already at the centre of a very, very similar incident, it has to be said.
Yeah, and look, I mean, it's a very serious when these sort of tit-for-tat incidents start happening. It's how all feuds begin.
It is.
Either houses being shot up, glass being put in, whatever. In this case...
Well, in this case, there's already an innocent victim, because there's been a number of incidents. The most recent incident was Friday night. 2 guys, and there's video footage of it going around. They went up to Sheehan's house, put in some windows, relatively minor stuff. They fled the scene on a motorbike, but as they're fleeing on the motorbike, an innocent pedestrian gets struck by the motorbike, suffers serious injuries, broke a pelvis, several fractures to his leg were suffered. One man is arrested, he was released without charge. But there's already consequences to this. And then Gavin Sheehan, of course, has been out of commission for 10 years. There was something kind of, very 2010s about it, because he takes then to social media.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
He's now declared on social media that now it's war.
Yeah.
And all the same elements, though, of this that we're talking about, that, those tit-for-tat incidents, the shooting, the firearms being produced, be they replica or whatever, and then that goading one another on social media is exactly what happened in Drogheda.
Yeah, exactly what happened in Drogheda and in many other places.
And look how that exploded.
Exactly. And I mean, look how this happened to Gavin Sheehan 10 years ago, roughly. A bit less than 10 years ago. And the final consequence was a young woman being shot in the neck. And again, it's happening now, and already an innocent man has suffered these injuries as in the general fallout.
And where's he living in Cork?
He's living in the Gurnabraher area.
So that's the northwestern side of Cork City.
Yeah.
And like, you know, heavily populated. People have to live with that. You know, what's coming in and out of that area and what he's doing and all that social media, threatening, goading, horrendous.
Yeah.
And you'd like to think that this will be shut down very quickly by the Gardaí, that they have learned from similar incidents in Drogheda in particular in most recent times. You know, down in Limerick when the feud happened and part of the kind of the structures they put in place after the regeneration of the city and everything was a sort of a Garda policy that they investigate fully every little incident, even if it's, you know, somebody breaking a glass bottle in your front garden.
Yeah.
When it's involved around that sort of feuding area, because they believe that they can shut the things down before they escalate into, I mean, these people are impulsive. A lot of these people, they're kind of arrested development going on with a lot of them. And yet they're highly dangerous.
Highly dangerous because, as you can see from his previous things, I mean, this guy is literally just out of prison from a very serious offence. But he's already, I mean, people. Nothing has been reported so much as people getting put in prison for Facebook posts. But he's putting up stuff about, you know, they're only clowns and it's war and all of that sort of stuff. So you can just see this is somebody that's not careful.
And I received videos. Why am I getting videos of this?
Well, because, I mean,
because they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. Yeah. I mean, they're going around. And there's also this graffiti is going up around parts of Cork about it. Gavin Sheehan is a rat is going up. It's an old thing, of course. We always get these, somebody's name is a rat. We always get them up in Belfast, and our Northern editor says, you can never publish them pictures because no matter who you are, they're going to be sending a solicitor's letter because nobody wants to be called a rat. So he always says, there's no point even showing them to me. Because you just can't do it. But of course, in this case with Gavin Sheehan, we can't.
Called himself a rat.
Yeah, so we actually can. We will be able to publish them. So it's such an unusual case.
And tell me this much, and this is for those listening outside Cork, because people in Cork will know this, but like, you don't hear of a huge amount of sort of gangland activity in Cork, but there's obviously a lot of antisocial activity.
Yeah, I mean, there's the same level of drug usage in Cork as anywhere else. What you haven't had is the same level of gun crime, actually. I mean, you've had probably all the other bits of criminality to the same extent, but gun crime and murders haven't occurred there. I mean, why that is, or they haven't heard there as commonly as, for example, Limerick, a smaller city, which has had such a high rate of gun crime over the years. And
even Sligo and Drogheda as well.
Exactly. Now, that doesn't mean it'll always be like that, but there probably are historical reasons for that. Certainly some of the drug gangs that operate in Cork, there was a certain amount of that was coming from Limerick criminal organisations who are moving the drugs in. There was a heavy Republican presence always in Cork as well back in the day.
And then a dissident presence.
And probably some of that, played a factor in not letting these, drug gangs become as powerful as they did in Limerick, where there was a much lesser presence, or those paramilitary figures were actually much more integrated into the
We could give a little bit here maybe and say that there is good policing, maybe some good intelligence network, and maybe there is good community policing that the likes of these incidents are sort of swamped with.
And of course there was an outbreak of gun murders, of course, in Limerick, maybe 20 years ago at this stage. But yeah, it's these things are cyclical, I suppose. But you can see it in Drogheda, where there was no history of gun murders, I suppose. There was the same levels of drug crime and violence. But, one incident can spark a wave of reactions. So Gavin Sheehan, is unlikely to have an army behind him, worshipping him and thinking he's great, him being a Garda informer and all that. That's unlikely. I mean, I think the thing in Limerick why that escalated so quickly was because of some of the extended families, the very large extended families that became sucked into
Well,
the
it was
feud.
also very difficult to get intelligence out of those, to break those blood bonds and get informants, because of course the Gardaí do need informants.
Absolutely.
I mean that's one of the most important parts of policing, even though everyone likes to pretend that they aren't informing and all the rest of it's plenty of people informing, I can tell you. But yeah.
And I mean, there have been good community structures in Cork as well, I think. I think you have to say that can be a factor as well, where there have been strong traditional community groups, which are one of the really the disincentives for criminality to get out of control. And it's been the experience worldwide sometimes, if these big new urban areas spring up out of nothing, that if they don't have the community groups that go with it, that's when crime can get quickly out of control.
I suppose I would say that anybody with information around Cork or anything we should be looking at down there could certainly get in contact with us.
Yeah.
On that same email.
What is it again?
It is, it's crimeworldpod@gmail.com. It's so easy. And, it's just the short-term memory problems I have. All right. Thanks, Niall.
Okay. No more chit-chat.
I'm Nicola Tallant and you're watching Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs and the underworld in Ireland and across the globe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be the first to watch all our latest episodes. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts.